Hey, what's up everybody? Onepeg here, recording from the vacation house, in case you can't tell. As it turns out, there was an impromptu Q&A session that SDF decided to have with Jay Griffia randomly on Friday. I apologize for missing it, but I was driving. Anyway, for the most important stuff, SDF said that he hasn't been able to stay at home recently. He's been staying in a hotel because his wife has corona. But for those of you wondering, the wipe is tentatively scheduled for September 6th. Now, he did mention that there is some stuff coming up kind of in between. The first being they have a couple of court dates that they're looking to make in August and September 10th to have to deal with Nexon for the next phase of this court battle that they're in. So for those of you wondering, no, it's not over yet. It was dismissed in U.S. court and is still, I believe, being or attempted to be appealed, but it looks as though that's not working out. But the Korean case is still very much alive and they still have a battle. All that happened was no court injunction forcing either party to have to stop doing what it was doing in the meantime, meaning that Iron Mace still gets to produce their game, but they still have to deal with the legal ramifications of going through all of this with Nexon and seeing if they can prove that they didn't steal anything. And unfortunately, because of how the public sentiment is in Korea with its media and how it tends to favor corporations and whatnot, and with Nexon being as big as it is, Iron Mace is kind of seen as, according to SDF, kind of the devil. Unfortunately, for example, there wasn't a single article made about the charitable event that we all did together, raising nearly $310,000 at last check for St. Jude. Not once. No articles in Korea were written talking about how Iron Mace raised all that money for the kids, with all of your help, obviously. Now, there were questions about balance, there were questions about map generation, questions about Arena. Arena is coming. They're going to try and get something in possibly before the end of this wipe for us to be able to test, but it won't be like fully implemented until sometime next season. The same thing is true for this matchmaking system that they're working on. They're going to remove the lobby that we're used to seeing where you get to inspect other people. They're going to get rid of that to remove that inspect ability. It will cut down on stream sniping for sure, but it will also cut down on the ability for people to team. Now, as the game's population increases, hopefully continues to increase, that will become less and less prevalent because there will be more people queuing at once. He did also say that he wanted there to be some type of random generation. I believe he means in terms of like stuff in the modules. He said procedural generation is something that seems like it's outside the realm of possibility right now, but he would like some type of random map generation. However, he said that the issue is that the spawn points are still going to end up being the same, at least at the current moment in time. So people like us, the veterans of the game, the people that have thousands of hours in the game, will still be able to game the system and know where people are spawning, which is an obvious problem because people that are ultra hardcore can gamify the game a little bit and kind of crush the noobs, which is also why the maps that have been generated are a little bit more simplistic and less varied than they once were back in, prior seasons. The idea behind this is that the new players that were coming in through Steam and Epic and whatnot, when the game saw its rise in popularity for the free-to-play section, those maps would be something that would be more easily learned because there would be less variation. My hope is that they bring that variation back. In terms of gearing, he said that there should be some gear disparity in the game, but he doesn't really like how the random modifier system is working at the at least current moment in time. He wants to try to remove a lot of the random modifiers, but he worries that the player base will end up pushing back on that because of RNG kind of being the thing that people strive for. They want to be able to get BIS, right? The issue, though, becomes BIS becomes incredibly expensive and ends up gatekeeping the ability of people that might be capable from being able to perform because they just get outgeared by the next guy. And I kind of sort of agree with that. He hopes that the gemming system, the socketing system, will be a way to kind of alleviate this, where you could get random modifiers on gems and then socket the gear to be able to make up those gaps. That way you could still have some RNG on your items or be able to outfit the items to tailor a build the way that you want to tailor it and still give enough variation to where people still feel powerful. And he did concede, though, that he believes that gear disparity should be a thing. It's a fantasy game and people should be able to strive for better stuff. Now, obviously, there still is the issue of RMT and cheating by extension. the most or the largest reason why people end up cheating in this game is because they're trying to gain, money, personal monetary gain from selling items and whatnot. That's the biggest motivator for people cheating. Now, granted, there are people that are still using walls and they're going to rage hack and all that other stuff because they just think it's fun or whatever, or they're garbage at the video game. But the majority of the people that are doing this are doing it because they're trying to get some bread. SDF addressed this and said he wants to try to at least play with the idea of having legendary or higher quality items be something that can't be sold on the market for 3 days. That would be his, I guess, proposed solution. And then obviously in that 72-hour period, if somebody was cheating and they get caught, that's kind of the motivator. In getting caught, whatever they stole or took from other people in cheating would then be returned to the player that lost it. And I like this idea too. Now, obviously, this hinges on whether or not the people that are detecting the cheaters can do it inside of a 3-day period of time. So it might end up being that the cheat detection has to get speedier, or the amount of time that somebody has to wait to be able to sell a legendary plus item would be extended. I don't know which, but hopefully they can figure something out there. Now, in the prior Q&A, Terry mentioned something about the religion system. SDF confirmed that the religion system will hopefully be in next season's patch. When the new season starts, there would be then 4 religions. He didn't really elaborate, but he said that there would be some type of blessing system, and the 4 religions would obviously be at war with one another. The idea being something like people preferring red lizard or blue lizard or green lizard, that kind of thing. So it'll create some fun rivalries, but I personally like this idea. I think the religion system will be pretty cool. And then on to race stuff. So the next playable, I guess, race skin that's coming in the game is going to be cat people. Cat girl's gonna sell like crazy. There's no doubt in my mind, man. Now, in terms of class balance, a couple, 2-3 things. The first, he said that he made Cleric kind of strong on purpose. He wanted Cleric to be kind of like the strong class this season, which is why the nerfs involved with the Cleric were a little bit light. Hindsight being 2020, I'm not exactly sure why they decided that they wanted to do it this way, but, maybe they just wanted to see how far they could make the class work. Secondarily, he said that he actually doesn't mind the ranged meta that we kind of have right now with all the ranged poke, but he knows that players aren't very fond of it, so they're looking at modifying that. Insofar as Warlocks with Warlock healing, they talked about, or SDF mentioned, that he wasn't really fond of the idea of Warlocks having all this crazy healing that they have. However, rather than nerfing the Warlock, he would rather build counters to these systems into other classes to be able to counter it, saying that, not every team size, right, and not every game mode is going to be balanced. There's going to be stronger players in certain game modes than others. Just so happens that Warlock tends to be pretty strong in solo, where they don't shine nearly as well in trios. Same thing where something like Barbarian shines pretty well, does really well in trios, but tends to not do as well on the solo side. He said that they want to work in some more counters to this, but the reason why there tends to be a lot more nerfs than there are to like building up other classes to counter certain classes and abilities is because they just haven't had enough dedicated people working on the counter side of things in their design team and their dev team versus, what they would prefer to do. Anyway, fellas, I just want to say thank you very much for coming by and watching this video. I know that it's on a cell phone camera and I'm talking to you with some AirPods or whatever, but I'm going to go back and enjoy my family. Thank you so much for tuning into this. Don't worry, this only took me about 10 minutes, but I want to make sure that we stay on top of everything. That's kind of my job after all. But yeah, thank you for coming and watching this video. Hopefully Saint did a decent enough job with the editing. Saint, say hi if you feel like it. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for lending me your eyeballs, everybody. We'll see you real soon, okay? Peace.